What's going on, guys? Mediocre PC Gaming here, back with another video, and today I'd like to make a build guide covering the Furious Charge Barbarian. This is going to be the Immortal King 6-piece and R4 4-piece variant. I did recently make, well not recently, but a few months back I made a video detailing pretty much why I didn't like charge barbs. The main reason being the functionality of the set was pretty low, and that the damage reduction was also very low in the set. But with Season 12 being right around the corner, patch 2.6.1 did drop, and a lot of buffs came to the Barbarian in general, especially the Furious Charge Barbarian, and it looks like it's shaping up to be one of the top pushing builds for the Barbarian in Season 12. So let's go ahead and get into the guide. It's going to use, like I said, 6-piece Immortal King set, but you're only going to be wearing 5 pieces since you will be using a Ring of Royal Grandeur in this set, and then you're going to want to have 3 pieces of R4s on in order to get the 4-piece bonus for it. So the 4-piece bonus, Furious Charge gains the effect of every rune and deals 1000% increased damage. The 2-piece Furious Charge refunds a charge if it hits only one enemy. With the Immortal King set bonuses, the 2-piece you Call of the Ancients pretty much last forever because they don't die very often. 4-piece, you reduce the cooldown of Wrath of Berserker and Call of the Ancients by 3 seconds for every 10 Fury you spend with an attack. So we're going to be going with a pretty big Fury dump, which is Ancient Spear Boulder Toss, in order to dump out all our Fury very quickly and get that cooldown back up. And then lastly, we're going to get 1500% increased damage while Wrath of Berserker and Call of the Ancients are both active. For our rings, we're going to want a Band of Might for some damage reduction. It's up to 80% now, and it makes you super tanky in Great Rifts. I've heard that you can go up to around Greater Rift 100 or maybe 110 it was, and still survive melee hits from certain bosses, which is going to be, insane. Your other rings, you're going to want to have a Convention of Elements so you can get some bonus damage when you're on your elemental cycle of your rune that you have on Furious Charge. Important thing to note right here, while you do get every Furious Charge rune, it's still only going to deal the elemental damage of the rune that you equip. So now that it's the Convention of Elements cycle just went through physical, I'd get that bonus 200% damage, but I won't get it on any other cycle. Also, you're going to want to stack the element of the rune that you have on Furious Charge on your bracers and amulet. For your bracers, in the Greater Rift pushing variant, you're going to want to have Ancient Parthian Defenders to get some more damage reduction and really high density. And then you're going to want to have a Hellfire Amulet on in order to get a 5th passive. And you're going to want to try and get the elemental damage on both of these and make sure they match up. In the cube, you're going to want to have your Standoff. And this basically translates bonus movement speed into damage. This is what makes this a really great speed farming set, as well as a great Greater Rift pushing set, because you're able to move around incredibly fast, and the faster that you are moving, the more damage you'll be dealing. You're going to want to have Vile Ward on. You're pretty much going to do 35% more damage for every enemy that you hit while charging. So this is going to make the build function a lot better while in high density. The damage of this build does kind of fall off in Greater Rifts whenever you don't have very high density. And then lastly, a Ring of Royal Grandeur, like I said, so that you can tie together the entirety of the build. When Greater Rift pushing, you're going to want to have Diamond socketed into your gear and a Amethyst in your helm. And then your legendary gems, you're going to want to have a Bane of the Stricken, Bane of the Trapped, and then a Wreath of Lightning, which is going to give us 25% more movement speed after we hit something, which is going to translate into 125% increased Furious Charge damage. For skills, you're going to want to have Ancient Spear Boulder Toss, or you can go with Seismic Slam Rumble. It's kind of your pick here. Neither of these skills are really going to be doing too much damage for us, but they're both viable Fury dumps that we can use. You want to go with Battle Rage Bloodshed, so that you can function even better in high density. Wrath of Berserker Insanity, 50% damage on top of all the other stats you also get along with it. Call of the Ancients together as one. This is going to be able to give you 50% damage reduction on top of your 80% that you'll be getting from the Band of Might. So again, this build is pretty tanky because of that reason. You're going to want to use Sprint Marathon. That's 40% bonus movement speed. Not exactly sure how much damage that translates into for Furious Charge, but you know, it's a pretty big bonus, and we're able to keep up Sprint pretty often because every time we charge, we're going to be generating 15 Fury at the least. Lastly, on Furious Charge, any rune here, but like I said, make sure that it matches up with whatever elemental damage you've stacked on your gear. And then for your 5 passives, you're going to want to have Berserker Rage, Brawler, Nerves of Steel, Rampage, and lastly Ruthless. I have Ruthless on my Hellfire Amulet, so just try and make sure you get one of these 5 on your Hellfire Amulet and have the other 4 actually equipped. Lastly, for the potion, you probably would want to go with an all-res potion. It's not something that's really covered, but just decided I'd probably throw that in there, see if I have one really quick. Don't have an all-res potion, but either an all-res potion or maybe a amplification potion. Not something that matters too much, but still something to note. Speed farming variant is very, very similar. The only things that are notable of change, you change your socketed gems to rubies, because you'll definitely have enough damage reduction to be able to survive in T13 pretty easily. So you might as well get some more damage here. Switch your Bane of the Stricken to a Boon of the Hoarder. And this is going to give you 30% increased movement speed after picking up gold, and gold is going to drop every time you kill an enemy once this is maxed out. So this is going to translate to a lot more damage for Furious Charge as well. And you're going to want to have Nemesis Bracers on in order to spawn more elites and clear out rifts even quicker. On top of that, one of the skills has changed, sorry, and that is Battle Rage. You can switch from Bloodshed to Ferocity. Bloodshed isn't going to benefit us quite as much, simply for the fact that we're one-shotting pretty much all trash at this level, and you can honestly you can kill any elite in probably about 3 to 4 shots, regardless of if you're on your right elemental cycle or not. So Ferocity is just going to give us even more movement speed to be able to clear faster and get some more damage while we're at it. Now, another variant that I tried out and I heard that worked pretty well is you can go from using the standoff in the cube when speed farming and instead use an Ingeome. I've tried it out and the damage is a bit noticeably lower, but what ends up happening is when you kill an entire elite pack, you get infinite charges, and so it kind of makes it to where when you're speed farming, I'd only recommend really using the Ingeome if you want to be able to kill an elite pack and then really not have to worry about where you're charging, because that is still another pitfall of this build. You do still want to make sure you're trying to hit at the least 3 or so enemies every time you charge. I'd recommend probably 4, as we won't be getting a lot of cooldown reduction on gear, if at all. But Ingeome kind of cures that when speed farming. You can kind of just charge around after you killed an elite pack and really not worry about it, because you're not losing any stacks regardless. I personally still like using the standoff more, as whenever I was using the Ingeome variant, I switched out my Boon of the Hoarder for a Bane of the Powerful, I switched out my Wreath of Lightning for a Bane of the Powerful, as the Wreath of Lightning really wasn't benefiting us too much. And then I think I switched Battle Rage back to Bloodshed. So yeah, if you're using the Ingeome variant, it's going to be, in short, it's going to be easier to use, as you won't have to worry about where you're charging and how much you're charging quite as much, but you're also going to have a lower movement speed, since you won't really be benefiting from movement speed buffs as much. So that's kind of up to you, but just something I decided I would note. So that's pretty much the guide. Anyone that's played Furious Charge Barb in the past will know that it hasn't really changed too much. The most noticeable changes is your rings have changed. Used to use Focus and Restraint here before the Band of Might buff. And honestly, that's about it. Yeah, so that's all I got to say for this video. Definitely going to be running Furious Charge Barb for pretty much everything until I get into groups. I'll be running Z-Barb then for Season 12, and I might have a video about Z-Barb coming out soon. If not, though, I'll see you guys in Season 12. Peace out.